The house wasn't worth $1. That was the entire point. The city sold it for $1 because nobody else wanted it. The roof leaked. The foundation had cracks. The plumbing barely worked. Half the windows were boarded shut. And according to local rumors, the place was cursed. At 22 years old, Claire Bennett didn't believe in curses. She believed in desperation. 3 months earlier, her husband Ryan died from a sudden brain aneurysm. One ordinary morning. One collapse. One ambulance. And then, nothing. The future vanished. The dreams vanished. The plans vanished. The small landscaping business they built together failed within weeks. Bills piled up. Savings disappeared. Eventually, Claire found herself sleeping on her cousin's couch while trying to figure out what came next. Then she saw the city's redevelopment program. Abandoned properties sold for $1 to buyers willing to renovate them. Most applicants were investors, developers, contractors. Claire wasn't any of those things. But she was stubborn. 3 weeks later, she became the owner of the most unwanted house in town. The property sat near the Old River District. Once prosperous, now forgotten. Brick warehouses surrounded narrow streets. Most businesses had left decades earlier. The house itself stood between 2 abandoned buildings. 3 stories tall. Victorian architecture. Beautiful beneath the damage. Or at least it would be. Someday. Claire stood on the sidewalk holding the keys. "Well," she whispered, "let's see what $1 buys." The front door opened with surprising ease. Dust floated through the afternoon sunlight. The interior looked rough, but not hopeless. Peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, water stains. Yet beneath everything she could still see craftsmanship. Hand-carved railings. Original hardwood floors. Stone fireplaces. Someone had once loved this house. A lot. For the next several weeks, Claire worked constantly. Cleaning, repairing, painting, learning skills she never expected to learn. The work helped. Grief didn't disappear, but staying busy made it quieter. One evening, while removing damaged paneling in the dining room, she discovered something strange. A brass plaque hidden behind the wall. The plaque contained only 3 words. Bennett and Sons. Below it sat a date. 1891. Claire frowned. The name sounded familiar. She couldn't remember why. She took a photograph and continued working. The following morning, she visited the local library. An elderly historian named Margaret immediately recognized the name. Bennett and Sons. Margaret adjusted her glasses. That family built half this district. Claire blinked. Really? Oh yes. Margaret smiled. They owned warehouses, shipping companies, river transport operations. What happened? The smile faded. Nobody knows exactly. That answer immediately caught Claire's attention. What do you mean nobody knows? Margaret leaned back. The family became incredibly wealthy. Then one generation disappeared. Claire frowned. Disappeared? Not literally. Margaret laughed. They simply vanished from public life. She pulled an old newspaper from the archives. A photograph showed a grand family standing in front of a massive warehouse. Below it read, "Bennett Shipping announces record profits." The article was dated 1928. Several years later. Nothing. No news. No records. No explanations. The family simply disappeared from local history. Strange. Very strange. That evening Claire couldn't stop thinking about it. Especially after remembering the plaque. Bennett and Sons. The same name. The same district. The same era. Coincidence seemed unlikely. 3 days later she found another clue. This time in the basement. The basement stretched beneath the entire house. Stone walls. Low ceilings. Old storage rooms. Nothing unusual. Until she noticed a section of brickwork that looked newer than everything surrounding it. Not new. Just newer. The pattern differed slightly. The mortar looked different. Someone had modified the wall. Intentionally. Claire crouched beside it. Then noticed something even stranger. A brass symbol embedded into one brick. The same symbol from the plaque upstairs. Her pulse quickened. No way. She tapped the wall. Solid. Then another section. Solid. Then one specific area. Hollow. Her heartbeat accelerated. For several minutes, she searched the surrounding basement. Eventually, she discovered an iron lever hidden behind old shelving. The metal barely moved. Rust fought every inch. Finally, it shifted. A deep mechanical clunk echoed through the basement. Claire jumped backward. Dust fell from overhead beams. The brick wall slowly began sliding sideways. Her mouth opened. No. Cold air rushed outward. Darkness waited beyond. A hidden room. Not large. Perhaps 20 feet long. Completely sealed. For decades. Claire grabbed a flashlight. Then stepped inside. The beams swept across the darkness. Wooden shelves. Metal cabinets. Crates. Boxes. Everything coated in dust. The room felt untouched. Frozen in time. Then she noticed something unexpected. No gold. No jewelry. No obvious treasure. Instead, documents. Thousands of documents. Ledgers. Maps. Contracts. Shipping manifests. Business records. Entire shelves filled with paperwork. What is this? She picked up one ledger. Bennett Shipping Company. Another. River Transport Holdings. Another. Inland Freight Consolidated. Her pulse quickened. These weren't random records. They were corporate archives. Then she found a photograph. The same family from the newspaper article. On the back someone had written, "The money is temporary. Ownership lasts." Claire frowned. That sentence felt important. Very important. The deeper she searched, the stranger everything became. Ownership certificates. Share records. Partnership agreements. Corporate structures. Everything carefully preserved. Then she found a steel cabinet. Unlike everything else, it was locked. Attached to the front sat an envelope. Claire. Her heartbeat immediately accelerated. She recognized the handwriting. Her grandfather's. Slowly she opened it. Inside sat a handwritten letter. The first sentence made her freeze. "If you found this room, then you've discovered the part of the inheritance nobody else knew existed." Claire stared. Inheritance? The letter continued. "Most people spend their lives searching for treasure. That's why they never find the real one." Her pulse pounded. Then she reached the final lines. And suddenly everything changed. The room contains assets worth far more than money. But someone else has been searching for them too. If the warehouse across the street is occupied, you need to move quickly. Claire frowned. Warehouse? Across the street? Immediately, she climbed the basement stairs and looked through a front window. The abandoned warehouse opposite the house had been empty for years. At least according to neighbors. Tonight, lights glowed inside, and someone was watching her house. Claire froze. The warehouse across the street was supposed to be abandoned. Every neighbor said so. The city records said so. Even the broken windows and rusted loading docks suggested nobody had entered the building for years. Yet tonight lights glowed behind the upper windows. And someone was clearly inside. Watching. A chill ran through her. Slowly she stepped away from the window and returned to the basement. The hidden room suddenly felt far more important. And far more dangerous. She picked up her grandfather's letter and continued reading. The next section explained everything. Or at least enough. The Bennett family never lost their wealth. They hid it. Claire frowned. The letter continued. During the 1930s, several powerful investors attempted to seize control of the family businesses through debt manipulation and fraudulent ownership claims. Most people believed the companies collapsed. In reality, ownership was transferred into a series of trusts and holding structures designed to disappear. Claire stared at the shelves surrounding her. Suddenly the documents made sense. These weren't records of dead companies. They were proof of ownership. Ownership that still existed. Ownership someone had spent decades protecting. Then she reached another paragraph. The companies changed names many times. The assets changed hands. The industries evolved. But the ownership trail never disappeared. Her heartbeat quickened. Then came the final warning. Someone eventually figured out the records survived. That's why this room remained hidden. Claire looked toward the basement stairs. Someone else knew. Or suspected. And apparently they were very close. The following morning she contacted a lawyer. A good one. Not because she trusted the situation. Because she didn't. The lawyer spent 3 days reviewing the documents. Then called her immediately. His voice sounded completely different. "What exactly did your grandfather leave you?" Claire swallowed. "That bad?" "No." A long pause followed. "Much bigger." Over the next several weeks, accountants, historians, corporate specialists, and legal researchers became involved. The deeper they investigated, the more astonishing the discovery became. The Bennett family companies never vanished. They evolved, merged, expanded, changed names. Some became transportation companies. Others became logistics firms. Several became infrastructure corporations. A few eventually joined publicly traded companies worth billions. And hidden inside every transformation, tiny ownership stakes remained. The trust still existed. The rights still existed. The shares still existed. And according to the documents, they belonged to Claire. At first, nobody believed it. The claims sounded ridiculous. A 22-year-old widow living inside a $1 house, inheriting portions of multiple corporations, sounded like fiction. Then the paperwork began matching. Every record, every transfer, every signature, every trust, everything checked out. The hidden room wasn't storing treasure. It was storing proof. Proof of ownership. Then came the first legal challenge. A corporation claimed the documents were invalid. Another challenged the trust structure. A third attempted to purchase everything immediately. The pressure increased daily. Claire quickly understood something. The people inside the warehouse weren't looking for gold. They were looking for evidence. The same evidence now sitting inside her basement. One evening, she finally crossed the street. The warehouse door stood partially open. Inside, she found desks, computers, research files. Not criminals. Investigators. Corporate investigators. They had spent years tracing the missing Bennett assets. When they realized someone purchased the old house, they started watching, waiting, hoping. One investigator eventually admitted the truth. "We knew the records existed somewhere." "You knew about the hidden room?" "No." He laughed. "We knew about the family." That conversation changed everything. Because suddenly Claire realized she wasn't protecting a secret anymore. The secret had already been discovered. The only question remaining was ownership. And the documents answered that clearly. The legal battles lasted nearly a year. Some days felt impossible. Corporate attorneys challenged every detail, every signature, every trust, every claim. But her grandfather had prepared for that. Every document contained backups. Every transfer included verification. Every ownership structure had supporting records. Decades of preparation defeated every challenge. Eventually, the rulings arrived. One after another. The trusts were valid. The ownership remained intact. The assets belonged to the Bennett heirs. And Claire was the sole surviving beneficiary. The news spread quickly. Articles appeared. Business journals covered the story. Financial experts called it one of the most unusual inheritance discoveries in decades. Reporters focused on the $1 house, the hidden room, the forgotten family fortune. But they missed the most important part. So did most people. Because everyone talked about money. The money was enormous. Far larger than Claire ever imagined. Enough to solve every problem she would ever face. Enough to transform generations. Yet that wasn't what mattered most. Her grandfather's letter explained it perfectly. The money is temporary. Ownership lasts. For months she thought about those words. Eventually she understood. The true inheritance wasn't wealth. It was control, choice, freedom, the ability to decide what happened next. 1 year later, Claire stood outside the restored house as evening sunlight filled the old river district. The neighborhood looked different now. Businesses returned. Buildings were renovated. The abandoned warehouse across the street had become offices. The district felt alive again. The $1 house looked beautiful. Not because it became a mansion, because it became home. The hidden room still existed beneath the basement. The documents remained protected, preserved, remembered. A reminder that some treasures don't glitter. Some sit quietly inside dusty ledgers and forgotten contracts. Some hide behind brick walls for generations. And some wait for the one person willing to look beyond appearances. People often asked Claire about the treasure, the fortune, the inheritance. She always smiled. Because technically they were right. She found treasure. Just not the kind anyone expected. The real treasure wasn't buried gold. It wasn't diamonds. It wasn't stacks of cash hidden in a vault. It was something far more powerful. Proof. Proof that what looks worthless sometimes isn't. Proof that history doesn't disappear simply because people stop talking about it. And proof that even after losing everything, life can still surprise you. As the sun disappeared beyond the river, Claire looked at the house one last time. A $1 house. A hidden room. A forgotten family legacy. And a future she never saw coming.